that's a tough act to follow. So I'm going to begin with something very simple, something we all know. We are addicted to fossil fuels. Oil, coal, and natural gas rule our lives. I challenge you to think of one thing you did today that didn't require a petroleum product. If you danced naked in the moonlight this morning, you get a point. Here's the interesting thing. We don't actually need it. We could exist solely on renewable sources of energy, sun, wind, and waves. The organization I work for, the Community Environmental Council, spent 2 years working on what we call our blueprint for a new energy direction. We looked at county-wide energy use, natural resources, and economic impacts. And what we discovered is that we could be free from fossil fuels in 1 generation, save money, and help stabilize the economy. We can take responsibility for our energy use and show others what is possible. 40 years ago, Santa Barbara is the birthplace of the modern environmental movement born out of an oil spill just off of our coast. Over the last 4 decades, we have continued to be a model community, pioneering recycling, watershed protection, and habitat preservation. Today, it's time to make another such stand. Climate change and energy insecurity are much too big of problems to continue down our path of dirty, expensive fossil fuels. As a city and as a state, we depend almost entirely on others for our energy. This slide will show you that 75% of our electricity is generated in state, but the fuels themselves often come from elsewhere. We only get 13% of our natural gas from California, and while 40% of our petroleum comes from here, it often means drilling in sensitive habitats. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually like fossil fuels. Our modern transportation and communication systems would not be possible without them. But like the typewriter, it's technology of the past, and it is time to evolve. Lucky for us, we have other options. I'm talking about clean, renewable sources of energy, sun, wind, and waves that are unlimited and don't pollute our air, our land, or our water. The study I mentioned calculated that we need 2,700 gigawatt hours of renewable energy to account for our electricity needs alone. I'm going to touch on just a couple projects in Santa Barbara County that are getting us started down that path. Last year, the Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors approved the Lompoc Wind Energy Farm. Once completed, this project will account for 10% of our county's electricity needs. It also has some of the most stringent environmental safeguards in the industry. Recently, a solar farm was proposed in Santa Barbara's Northeast County. At about 80 gigawatt hours, this will account for a little less than 5% of our electricity needs. It is also sited on existing agricultural land near transmission lines, which helps minimize impacts to sensitive habitats. And believe it or not, wave energy is just around the corner. PG&E, our local utility, has a preliminary permit to study wave energy potential, biological resources, and other factors off of Vandenberg Air Force Base. This study will help them decide whether or not they want to move forward and which technology to use. 3 projects, 25% of our electricity from local renewable sources. We need another 8 to 10 projects total to meet all of our electricity needs, but the good news is we have more resources than what we need. So why stop there? By 2020, it is estimated we will need 100 million gallons of petroleum to run our cars here in Santa Barbara. Alternatively, we can run our cars off of electricity. We would need another 3,700 gigawatt hours or 20 Lompoc wind energy projects. We could also look to our neighbors in Europe, take their lead, and build 1 or 2 large offshore wind farms outside the Channel Islands. There are possibilities. First step, though, we have to get rid of the internal combustion engine. Dirty, loud, and inefficient. Conventional engines waste 75% of the energy we put into them. Now, imagine pouring out 3/4 of every beer that you drank. No thanks. Instead, we want to see clean electric engines. Even running off of a dirty grid, they're less polluting, and they cost less to operate. We want to see a clean electricity grid. Better yet, solar and wind in every home. you could be driving on your own sunshine. Here's the best part. Our plan saves us money. By 2020, countywide, we could save $400 million. 2030, $1.5 billion, $3,000 per year, per person, everyone in this room. A lot of those savings are attributed to energy efficiency, but renewable energy plays a huge role because once you build a renewable energy facility, the fuels themselves are free. So let's begin today. Changing light bulbs is simply not enough. We have to change how we generate energy as a society. Put solar panels on your home, but support a wind energy farm in your backyard. I ask you today to imagine a different future. Our fossil-free plan is not only possible, it's practical, and it's based on the core value that a strong economy and a healthy environment are deeply intertwined. All it takes is a community like ours.